I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Stan Gerson, Dean of the School of Medicine, and one of the things I most enjoy is having our investitures for endowed professorships. And thank you for joining us this, I don't know, maybe it's a pre-summer afternoon. The good news, for if you're ready to come over for a swim, is my pool is now filling up with water today, and we'll turn on the heat in a couple of days, regardless. Okay, so thank you for joining us for the investiture of Dr. Grace McComsey as the Gertrude Chandler Tucker Professor of Prevention and Treatment of Disease of Children, something dear to her heart. I should also point out that Grace is the Vice Dean for Clinical and Translational Research in the School of Medicine and the Principal Investigator of our Multi-Institutional Clinical Translational Sciences Award from the National Institute of Health, the largest single NIH award in the state of Ohio. And I'm delighted that we waited just long enough so that Aiden, Christian, and Ken in Grace's family could join us here. Thank you for getting over and out from school and work. It's a proud moment for all of you, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. I really do, as I said, enjoy championing and recognizing our extraordinary faculty who make it to the point of being selected as holders of our endowed professorships. They certainly honor our best and brightest faculty, and I hope keep them here with that recognition. We do use them to both recognize, promote, and retain our best scientists and educators, and of course it takes a donor community for that to happen. Professorships are special, and some of you have heard this before, but I enjoy saying it, so I will. So the idea of endowed professorships in academic institutions goes back centuries, back to King Henry VIII in 1540. He founded the Regius Chair of Civil Law at Oxford University. You know, Dan, you got to help me figure out who's holding that chair now, since we've got relationships with Oxford. We'll find out that for you. In the United States, the oldest is the Hollis Professorship at Harvard in mathematics and natural philosophy, and now it's at the Divinity School, and it's held by Karen King, a woman. I'm not sure that Dr. Hollis would have imagined that a woman would hold that chair, but as we know, thankfully, women hold many of our chairs. There are three of the oldest endowments at our school, all supported by the Hanna family, as you know, in the real estate business these days. But in 1901, the Leonard C. Hanna Professorship, and then came the Henry Wilson Payne Professorship in 1903 in honor of a very close friend of the Hanna family, and then the Hanna Payne Professorship in 1906, all of whom are held by proud faculty here at the School of Medicine. And we currently have 125, we're growing that number slowly but surely, endowed professorships in the school, and I'm delighted to say that 48% of them, since I've become the dean, are now being invested with women faculty, so we are rapidly approaching real academic equity across the board. And our professors really do help advance our mission, which is to improve global health by linking research to populations in a superb educational environment. And you will hear from Dr. McComsey about how she is really promoting that effort and cause. So what in the world is a Gertrude Chandler Tucker Professorship? So that family has roots in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio going back almost 100 years. When you drive up the roadways out east to Lake County, you might miss the fact that there's the former Chandler Tucker estate, on Route 84 in Willoughby. In 1900, that property was located on Ridge Road overlooking Chagrin Valley and south to the south and Lake Erie to the north. And that was purchased by Harrison Chandler, the founder and president of the Chandler and Price Company, which made printing machinery and one of Cleveland's earliest non-oil activities. In 1911, it was passed down to Harrington's daughter Gertrude, who was a graduate of Hathaway Brown School, who married Stanley Tucker, and they subsequently took out and built a large property, mansion, house, barns, buildings, outhouses, and then acquired more acreage, which is then became known as Gully Brook Estate. That stone mansion faced Ridge Road and was in a high esteem up until '53 when Gertrude's passed away, and 10 years, she passed away 10 years after Stanley had passed away. And it was then gifted to Western Reserve University, but the title transferred in 1954 to Willoughby East Lake School System that acquired the mansion and physical property and then turned it into the Sunty Lane School for children with cognitive disabilities. And a number of our faculty have interacted with them over the years, especially in the psychiatric space. The barns were repurchased and they're used for woodworking, for music, etc. And then much of that along Chandler Road was repurposed when Chandler Road became Shanklin Road in 1958. And now on that property is a YMCA. A Little Red Schoolhouse was developed as well. And the Gully Brook property became a part and was gifted to Lake Metro Park, so it's a good hiking club, hiking lanes that you can go to now. And it's, if you drive up into Lake County on Route 90, halfway between Somme and Kirkland Country Club, on the left-hand side, you can get off the road and go hiking in Gully Brook Park, and now you know why you'd want to go do that, and I'm sure the family will head that direction. So that's what I know about the family, and we don't know about current survivors. I wish we did. It's always fun when there are current survivors of the estate and of the endowed professorship, but at least you can go walk in their paths. So. And now to introduce Dr. McComsey, I'm going to turn things over to Dan Simon, President Academic and External Affairs of Academic and External Affairs and Chief Scientific Officer for University Hospitals, Professor of Medicine, Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs for the School of Medicine. He has led University Hospitals Health System academic programs for years, is a consummate physician scientist who has overseen and helped and expanded many of the clinical translational research efforts that Dr. McComsey is now in charge of, has helped with Oxford University, the Technion Israel Institute of Technology, National Taiwan University College of Medicine interactions with us here. Since joining only in 2006 as Division Chief in Cardiovascular Medicine, he helped imagine and then direct the UH Harrington Heart and Vascular Institute before he became president of UH and then Chief Academic Officer. And in his spare time is one of the best practicing cardiologists you'll find in the world, Dr. Simon.
Well, Stan, while you asked me that question, the standing chairholder right now is Sir John Bell, and there is a connection to UH because Sir John Bell was the co-founder of the Oxford Harrington Rare Disease Center with Dr. Stamler, and that chair does indeed date back to 1546. So there's a connection today on this chair celebration back to that. It is truly an honor and a privilege to participate with Dean Gerson in acknowledging the accomplishments of an illustrious physician scientist and a renowned academic leader, Dr. Grace McComsey. I am thrilled to be able to introduce her for the appointment as the Gertrude Chandler Tucker Professorship in the Prevention and Treatment of Diseases of Children at Case Western Reserve University. Dr. McComsey currently serves as the Vice Dean for Clinical and Translational Research at Case Western and the Principal Investigator of Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine's Clinical and Translation Science Collaborative, what we call the CTSC, which, as you have heard, has received the largest single grant in the history of Case Western, a 7-year, $56.3 million federal grant to expand broad-based initiatives to improve the lives of people in this region and beyond. And what is unusual about this grant is there are 7 institutions, everything from Case Western, Metro, UH, and the VA, but also now, of course, University of Toledo and Neomed. So it is truly an Ohio-based effort. Dr. McComsey was recently selected to serve on the National CTSA Steering Committee, a testament to her national prominence despite a short tenure as a CTSC PI. I am so grateful that Dr. McComsey continues to have a leadership role at UH, where she currently serves as the Clinical Research Integrity Officer for our health system. Dr. McComsey is a board-certified and trained physician in both adult and pediatric infectious diseases. She joined UH in 1998 and served for 15 years as the Division Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. In 2016, I was fortunate to appoint Dr. McComsey as the Vice President of Research and Associate Chief Scientific Officer for the health system, and in that role, she transformed the UH Clinical Research Center. With a staff of more than 250 research professionals, the center serves as a vibrant hub for clinical research. In that role, she more than doubled the number of research studies at UH, established fair and compliant research practices and policies, championed several initiatives aimed at helping young investigators, and enhanced patient access to research by integrating UH community medical and ambulatory centers through only the second RV van that travels across our counties from Amish country and rural critical care access hospitals to the inner city. Internationally recognized for her research in HIV, she has been a successful NIH-funded clinical and translational physician scientist at CWRU for the past 20 years. She has authored over 350 peer-reviewed publications focusing on the metabolic and, most importantly, the cardiovascular complications and treatment of HIV. Dr. McComsey has served as PI on more than 15 NIH grants and has led several multi-center studies through NIH-funded AIDS Clinical Trial Group Consortium. Given her expertise in infectious disease, Dr. McComsey was easily able to transition to SARS-CoV-2 and COVID research at the beginning of the pandemic. While other research centers closed their doors to research, Dr. McComsey refused, as she says, to stay home and hide. She was relentless in ensuring that UH remained open for business with very new creative video ways to do research. Patients traveled to UH for life-saving clinical studies from 10 different states and were able to come to trials for that life-saving new drug, device, or cell-based therapy. She also built a biorepository of samples to help investigators compete for COVID grants. Through a highly competitive grant process, her proposal to have Cleveland selected to be one of only 14 NIH Recover adult cohort sites was awarded to study long COVID at patients from both UH and Metro Health, a testament to her ability to collaborate with other health systems in Cleveland and nationwide. And for that, Dr. McComsey served as the vice chair for the coordinating committee of the Recover cohort and a member of the steering committee. Dr. McComsey has received several awards as the result of her research, including a National Research Award from the HIV Medical Association of the Infectious Disease Society of America, recognizing her work in HIV metabolic complications, the YWCA Women of Professional Excellence Award, and the Cranes Woman of Note in 2020 in recognition of her organized and innovative response to the COVID pandemic. Endowed positions represent prestige, leadership, and great responsibility for our distinguished chair holders. These perpetual funds enhance clinical discovery and medical education, both of which are essential to the future of medicine. I can think of no one more deserving of this honor and investiture as the Gertrude Chandler Tucker Professorship in the Prevention and Treatment of Diseases of Children, no one other than Dr. Grace McComsey. Your work as an infectious disease researcher is saving lives. We applaud your dedication and are thrilled to celebrate this career milestone with you. Grace, please join me.
All right. I think you heard enough about me, no? So first, really thank you for being here. I know after a long day of work, it's just like you want to go home. So thank you for being here to celebrate with me. Thank you, Dean Gershon and Dan. So this is, everybody who knows me, my trainees and ex-trainees know I love to talk, give talks about my research. It's very easy for me, but it's not easy to talk about yourself. So this was a little harder, and never spoke in front of my kids and husband, so we'll see how that goes. So if you're wondering and you don't know where my accent is from, I was born in Lebanon. All these, you think about Lebanon, maybe you think oceans and beautiful mountains or cedars or food, right? Lebanese food, people sit for 3 hours for lunch and 3 for dinner to eat and talk. However, this is the Lebanon I know, which is why probably my postdocs always say, what does she have against Lebanon? I don't, but it's not good memories for me. So my dad was the head of the country's only appellate court. He was a big guy. I knew this picture was going to get me. And my mom was a teacher who left actually her teaching to raise us. So I appreciate very much what she did. I lost my parents, seemed like recently, within a year, so that's why you see me touched by that picture. I know they're proud of me, and that means a lot to me. So when I was in high school, I was a math major, and really was I in engineering. Didn't have medicine in my head. However, my parents know better. My kids. My parents knew, and they always said, you should be a doctor, and they were pushing me. And honestly, my Red Cross experience during the war as well, here I am, a doctor. And I think they were right. It's a much better position for me. So I graduated from St. Joseph University of Beirut. I was surprised to find that they have an English version of their logo, because they're 100% French, at least when I was there, which is why I never learned English until I came here. But now apparently they have even a mission statement in English. So their obviously mission statement is research, teaching, and service of the society. You can tell from the way it's written, it's somebody whose English is not first language, but nonetheless. So my passion has been HIV, and I trained in both adult and pediatric infectious disease, and I was always drawn to doing research that improve people's lives. I've never been a lab researcher. No offense, Bill and others, but I always wanted to listen to patients. And one of the first, area, it was so tough to be in pediatric HIV because I can tell you when I was a fellow, the worst months of my career was 1 month where we lost 5 kids in 1 year. It was like worse than, peds cancer. So it was rough. Even after we had good medications, it was still rough for kids because not all medications are available. They taste nasty. The ones available, they don't come in pills. I mean, it's all these complications in kids. You have to rely on mom to give them the medications, and that's not always, a good thing. So we really had, a lot of issues in the clinic, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it because it makes you feel like you're making a difference. And as my wonderful nurse, Isabel, who's sitting here, knows, it does take a multidisciplinary team for a disease like this. And it's really hard. And now our kids are upper 20s, some of them early 30s, and they consider us as their moms, as they tell us stuff that they don't tell others. And the residents and fellows who rotate in the clinic with me, they always say, this is like no other clinic. Like people hug you when you come in and, they treat you like your family. Because really, I mean, I've seen them since they were kids. So it's really a wonderful clinic, and this is why I still do HIV clinic. So thank you, Isabel, and all the team, actually. The team is hard. And these are quotes from parents. The Plain Dealer had an article about our clinic, about how literally, like some of them said, we were told by other physicians that my kid was gonna die. There was nothing they could do. And we came here, you guys fixed the medication, and here they are, and they're alive, and they're doing well. So this really, as a doctor, obviously touches you and make you feel like you're doing something good. And we forecasted trouble for these kids because as the picture is Dr. Sarah, where's she? Oh, here. Sarah Dirajlal Fargo, who was at Rainbow and now is coming from Chicago, actually, to celebrate with us. So Sarah was probably in her first year of her job at Rainbow, and she witnessed firsthand in DC NIH people arguing with me and debating that those kids with HIV who have a lot of inflammation, a lot of cardiovascular, they're fine. You shouldn't worry about them. They were debating that this is no big deal for kids. Well, that's not what we thought. And we started a line of research that led to even several of my ex-trainees, including Sarah, being established investigators in the area of cardiovascular and metabolic complications. These kids are at huge risk because of the inflammation and everything else that comes with HIV. So my research has always been, whatever I see in clinic bothers me because people are suffering from it, so I want to find a solution for it. Lipodystrophy was the first disease or issue I encountered in clinic. I'm sure Barb Griptrover and everybody here who does HIV remember those days where people would look like that. We were happy that they have drugs to keep them alive, and then they started losing fat. It was very stigmatizing. I would know on the street who has HIV just by looking at them. So that's really bad. And they were suffering. They were happy to be alive, but at the same time suffering from it. And I didn't know what I'm doing, but I did a lot of research myself. I was a clinician at that point. And I figured, we need to study, get some tissue, blood, study mitochondrial function in the fat of these people. And of course, I had to go back to the books to remember what mitochondria were from my medical school. And I was calling different experts around the country. And this professor shown here, Professor Wong, was the only one among 10 or 11 who I called like cold calls to try to see if they would work with me. And honestly, some of them were rude and some didn't take my call. But Dr. Wong listened to me, and she's like, okay, yeah, I never thought about HIV, but tell me what you have in mind. And I told her, and after some hesitation and silence, she said, well, why don't you put on paper what you're going to do, and then tell me what part you want me to do, what assays, and you deal with all the clinical stuff. And I said, sure. I didn't leave the Foley building. I was here that day till around 10 p.m. My husband probably remembers, because I had to write down the same day and send it to her. I wanted her to take me seriously. So that collaboration led to a paper. The first paper we did together was awarded Best of AIDS that year. A year later, I had my first R1. 6 months later, my second R1. And you can imagine, one phone call started my whole career. I was awarded the HIV Medical Association Research Award for my work on lipodystrophy. And I thought, well, great, now what do I do? HIV metabolic, now we know which drugs cause the problem. We switch to other drugs, so do I really have a career in HIV metabolic? But during that time, we started to see cardiovascular. We had 28-year-old who ended up with a massive MI. So we were seeing a lot of heart disease in the clinic, and I was very interested in writing a grant on statin treatment in HIV, not for lipids. People have normal lipid, good virologic control, just to see if we can affect inflammation and the risk of heart disease. But honestly, I was too busy in clinic. So I was pregnant at that time, and late in pregnancy, I had preeclampsia, so I had to be admitted to UH. And I was at UH for 28 days, admitted, waiting for the kids to be born. And day 2, I decided to keep my sanity. Well, guess what? I'm going to write that statin grant. And I did. And day 27, I ended up submitting to the case office the grant, which was funded, and day 28, I had Aiden and Christian, who look very different now, right? So that was obviously, you guys were more important than any other grant. So during that time, I worked with a wonderful network, honestly. It's called the ACTG, or AIDS Clinical Trial Group. It's NIH-funded. We do HIV clinical trials, and they were wonderful. I mean, it's so good for national reputation, for learning research. We did a lot of studies, and one of them in particular put back on the map HIV metabolic, because it was a study I led that showed that regardless, we were happy that we have new drugs that were neutral. Well, it turned out the old drug and the new drugs are the same. We saw a 30% increase in visceral fat, less than 2 years after starting medication. So we knew we're in for a long time. I would retire and still do HIV metabolic, and I'm probably right. So the latest one that we just published in The Lancet with Dr. Eckert, who's here from South Carolina. How come I don't see anybody? Okay. Who's here from South Carolina just to celebrate with us. It was the first randomized, to date, the first and only clinical trial of GLP-1 receptor agonist in HIV. And not only we found very significant changes in visceral fat, and as we expected, but we're starting to see improvement in cognition, and then we're starting to see improvement in epigenetic age and all these other off-target good stuff that we're seeing a good signal for. So we have a lot more to do on that study. And of course, CRC. I cannot talk about my career without mentioning the wonderful years, 8 years that I spent at CRC. Like Dan said, he probably doesn't remember, but in 2016, when he called me to his office, And he said, well, I really want you to do this. And my first thing is like, I'm honestly busy enough, and I don't need that. And the second thing was, no, I knew the trouble that center had. I'm like, I was the one who complained about it. And he said, okay, good, so fix it. You complain about it. So, and I was really happy I took the job because it was a lot of work, but at the same time, I got to work with a wonderful team. I know several of them are here and pictured. It was really great years, and I think we did a lot of good things. And CRC now really is buzzing with action. I think I left it in very good hands with Beth Hagesfeld and all the management team who are here. It was a great time, and I'm very happy actually that we did that at UH. So when COVID hit, like Dan said, really I did say, you know, this is the time where research shouldn't go home and hide, but the research should shine, right? You don't have anything for standard of care. We don't understand anything about that virus. So guess what? Research is as important as clinical. So I wasn't the only one. I can tell you, I see Joe there, the clinical research team at Seidman never, ever one day left here. They were here even at a time where we didn't have enough masks for people. I mean, it was crazy. But they ended up serving not only people with cancer here, but people from 10 different states came in because in their state, the center was closed. So I think what we did in COVID, and it was amazing actually to have like 24/7, you know, the IRB was ready. If you have a COVID study, we can review it. The first study, remdesivir, was approved, I think A to Z, 2.5 days. I know Heather knows here, we built the biorepository that helped a lot of investigators get funding. So it was a lot of action, but honestly, it was a time for research to be busy. And in December 2020, you know, that Christmas break, I wrote a book, and that was a new experience for me, a book for lay people to sell on Amazon. So it was a different experience. It kept me busy for the 10 days or 12 days that I was off at a time where we couldn't go a lot. We were hiding home, so I wrote a book. And Recover was another, you know, one dear to my heart because as Nora knows, NIH got from Congress, who earmarked $1.6 or $1.5 billion for long COVID. They realized that people who had COVID are not getting better. There's something wrong here. They're not recovering. So I remember a call. NIH had this technical call for us. The whole world, obviously the whole US, was tuning in, every researcher. And they said, you have 3 weeks, you have to put an application, and there's no limit on budget. And that was a mistake, because when you tell people no limit on budget, as Nora knows, everybody applied. So they ended up with more than 300 applications, and they ended up choosing 15. I was proud that Case was one of the 15 chosen. And interestingly, Columbia, remember, was kicked out before Trump. Columbia, they couldn't enroll, so they kicked them out. We were 14, so we're happy to be there. And it was a wonderful collaboration, I think, and continues to be. We have a lot of work still between Case, UH, and Metro. Dr. Singer, my co-PI, is in charge of the Metro site. The UH site was the first one to enroll nationally, and we ended up a close second in overall enrollment among 83 sites. So we really did very well. And this team that you see, where's Danny? Yeah, I'm looking at you with Danny. So this is my Recover team. It's amazing, that team. Every time somebody works on Recover, as we laugh, they go to med school. It's like weird. They work as coordinator, and then next, can I have a letter of support for medical school? It's like there's something about Recover. The work is so interesting. They all want to be doctors. But Danny has been with me since I started doing research, pretty much. She was 17, and I hired her, and she's been since a nurse manager, and I always say, you know, part of my success is Danny, as well as all the team that I mentioned so far. And of course, the CTSC. I do see Shannon, Jerry, Laura, a lot of CTSC people. I started in 2023. I hesitated, honestly. I was very happy at CRC. It's really hard to move when you're happy in a position because you don't know if you're going to regret it, right? So, but I saw in it a lot, like helping not only UH, but helping all 7 partners. We expanded the CTSC at that time to have Toledo and Neomed. And this CTSC team, I think 3 of them were here, right? 2 or 3 only. And then since 23, obviously, we expanded the team. We have our own hub. And it's not just those people, trust me. I see David, Nora, Darcy. I mean, I saw a lot of the site leads, a lot of people among the audience who work in the CTSC. It is a world by itself, as you know. It takes a lot to run the CTSC, but it is wonderful. And I myself, I couldn't do it. I need a lot of expertise. You know, David with his clinical informatic, Darcy, everybody here adds a lot. So CTSC is an example of the need for collaboration because everybody has different expertise. No 2 people do it the same. So I think, I enjoy the CTSC and hopefully will grow more and more. So Gertrude Chandler Tucker, it is true, there's not a lot online about her. I can tell you I found this picture. I knew which years she was alive. I knew that she wanted her legacy to support prevention and treatment of disease in children. She didn't have kids of her own, but after her death, I think it is amazing that her home was a school. And apparently she had a smaller home that was home to the Red Cross. So for me as a pediatrician, as a former Red Cross volunteer, really resonates with me. And I think, the power of endowment is real because not only she's going to affect, obviously, me and before me, people who had this endowment, but all our trainees, all the people that we affect will be affected by this one endowment. So I'm really, it's a privilege to carry her work forward. So before I leave you, I just want to ask a philosophical question here. I was looking at my CV, and I was thinking, how should I be remembered, right? And I don't mean sorry, like when I'm dead. When I'm retiring in a undisclosed island and happy, what should you or anybody remember me with? So I looked at my CV. I was like, okay, so I had more than, and these are real numbers, 107 million in NIH funding as PI. 380 publications, 435 presentations. I told you I like to speak, so I talk a lot. Is that really significant? Or is it what patients rate us from? And I couldn't but put this. It was a physician who got a 4 stars out of 5, even though the comment is, Dr. Lewis saved my life. And this is true, and Isabel, Barb know that. I mean, we do so much for patients, right? And we hear a lot, like, I'm here because of you, great, but they complain, whatever you do. So that is true. But really, I think what I want you to remember me with are all these people. These are half of the people that I trained. The lower, you can see some of them here, are my current trainees. They do look still fresh and young, right? And the little less young, the first rows are really, I mean, I could say all of them are established division chiefs, tenured professors. It's really the pleasure of mentoring people. So, and I know that Allison and Sarah came in today just to be here with me, and that means a lot, actually. to see them. And I know I say, once you're mentor, you're stuck with me forever. So I always, treat them as my professional kids. So my last slide, obviously, a lot of people affect your career. So I wanted, the late Bob Salata had a lot to do with my infectious disease knowledge. Judy and Judy were always my mentors from outside case because they helped me a lot, and they still take any phone call, any letter of support I need for any award or something. Of course, yeah, right away. Dan, I learned a lot from Dan about fellowship in general, and a lot. And then Barb, so I wanted to recognize Barb because really I mentioned the HIV clinic. Barb is the director of our HIV clinic, and it's amazing. We hear, and I know there are people from Metro and other sites, but our patients sometimes go to different hospitals and they come back to us and they say, you guys are so different. So we're really proud of our clinic, and I, for one, enjoy going. I don't have to do clinical time, but I love going to the HIV clinic. So thanks to Barb and all the team of the HIV clinic. I'll stop here. Thank you for being here today.
So first of all, congratulations, and don't worry, we'll keep tracking the numbers as they go up, and the patients as they go up as well. Now I have to tell you that we were taking pictures out in the back with the chair, and as we left the chair, Grace got a little worried about what was going to happen. It's like, this is the chair, same one. So it says, Grace, Aoud, how do you pronounce? Awad, thank you. McComsey, MD, FIDSA, the Gertrude Chandler Tucker Professor of Prevention and Treatment of Diseases of Children, March 2024. Congratulations. The McComsey family came just back from school, so we're going to bring them up here for some pictures. The rest of us can head out for a reception, and we'll join you in just a few minutes. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming.